is weird, but I'm normally on that side. But
Oh, sorry.
No,
oh
no.
my God, I just stolen your seat.
It's
Sorry.
cool. Just got to throw me right off. That's cool. So I actually know fuck all about javelin throwing, so this is going to be a lot of learning.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's cool.
yeah, if I sound clueless, just...
No,
whatever,
often that's
man.
probably the best, actually, because people then ask good questions. I feel
Yeah.
like people who know, they kind of assume, and the conversation tends to direct one way, whereas when you don't know, you just don't know, so it's sort of like,
I had a look at the, like, javelin throws and that, and, like, holy shit, like, the world record 2008, that's a long... throw away, 72 meters. And what's your PB? Like 63 or?
Yeah, 63.26.
Yeah.
So,
if you,
yeah. Sorry.
You've already started. So,
all good.
One of them ones.
So, yeah, I mean, like it is. It's like, you know, a good another 9-10 meters, pretty much. You know, 9 meters away from my personal best. But yeah, Jav's just one of those ones. Like you catch some good conditions.
Yeah.
Like you put it up high enough on a bit of wind in a big open space, and it can really rock it off. But I feel like it's as well. It's one of those events where you mistime it, and it just kills you on the distance board aid. So you like mistime the connection of your throw, and it can literally cost you, you know, like easily 5 meters. You know,
Shit.
but then on the other hand, you connect it really well, and you can gain 5 just like that. You know, people forget that the jab is 2 meters long. You know, it's 2.2 meters long. So when you PB, you often PB by a reasonable amount, whereas, you know, shot put, you're just working with centimeters. You know, so it's a little bit different.
Anyway, before we get too involved, team, let's officially introduce today's guest. Tori Peters. It's Tori Moorby now.
Moorby, yeah.
But, obviously, before you got married, Tori Peters.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for coming and sitting down, taking time out of your day. Before we get into like your javelin career and all that kind of cool stuff that I'm sure people are wanting to listen to, let's just take a back step. We like to really get to know you as a person. So let's take it back to your childhood. You growing up, where'd you grow up and how was all that?
Yeah, so I guess people will probably figure this out as the more they listen, but I've got a pretty strong rolling of the R. So grew up down in Southland in Gore. So had a pretty much majority of my childhood down there, and all my early sporting sort of career down there in the south, and my brother and my sister, huge part of I guess the place that I've got to today in my sporting career. You know, those games of soccer on the lawn that you know are competitive as hell, and they sort of shape you into who you are, and have definitely given me the competitiveness I reckon that I have today. But so I grew up down there, and I actually went to St. Peter's and Gore down there, and funnily enough work now at St. Peter's in Cambridge. So, must admit the two schools are like worlds apart in terms of what they offer. So, great childhood down there, and then went to uni in Dunedin, studied there at Otago, and I guess you could say experienced a little bit of the scarfy life down there, which was pretty hard case, but
a few burning couches.
Saw a bit of that in my time, and a few O weeks and things like that. So it was but all in all, good experience. And studied the PE degree down there in sports science and that sort of thing. I guess just sort of to add a little bit more value and understanding to I suppose some of the ins and outs of being an athlete, and I guess as well a bit of the biomechanics around javelin throwing, but just sport in general, that sort of thing as well. So and then made my way back up here. So so javelin throwing, like, did you get into that? Like, and how do you even get into javelin throwing? And
go down that rabbit hole.
And great question, right? So it was, like token every year, you've got athletics day, swimming sports, all that sort of thing. So it was sort of the start of the year. I was year 10. And we were allowed at that age. We were allowed to have a go with the javelin, right? Because obviously, like a little bit of danger.
Yeah, I was never allowed.
Yeah, we're throwing
different schools, I guess.
Exactly right. So it's like a little bit dangerous. So it's like year 10. Yep, cool. You're allowed to go and like have a go with this. So just sort of did it in a PE lesson, and was pretty good. Like had a natural throwing arm. Yeah. Grew up on a farm, pretty natural strength, like that sort of thing, just from being out and about. And my sister, who's 2 years older than me, she had actually been through the exact same process. Picked it up in PE. And so I kind of knew about it, but I didn't really know what to do. I'd sort of seen that she could do it, and to be honest, I just thought to myself, well, if she can do it, so can I, and I'll
Yeah.
probably be able to do it better. You know, like it's just that classic mentality
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like
of course.
you want to be better than the
I'm
older,
better than you, yeah.
better than the older sibling. And so threw it at sports day, broke the record, and then it was actually a coach who is based in Gore. He was helping my sister a little bit, and just giving her a few tips. I mean, because let's be honest, you know, it's a pretty small pool of people that might know how to throw a javelin or know something about that, right? So Murray Speedon, he was my first ever coach and coached my sister as well. And I guess when he found out that I was, you know, on the scene as well and had a reasonable arm, he sort of took us both under his wing and gave us a few tips and things like that. And it sort of just naturally progressed from there. But by no means were we, you know, thinking we would pursue it. That it would be our mainstream sport. You know, like my sister and I played in the senior A netball team together. We played team sports growing up, like literally every sport under the sun. We were playing that and balancing numerous sports at once. And javelin was sort of just that thing that every summer time when it rolled around, we'd pick it up and, you know, chuck it around a little bit. Yeah, and just sort of see where we got to. And every year you'd sort of hope that you could throw it a little bit further. And so pretty much every year since that first year that I started, just continued to improve and break the school records, that sort of thing, and compete at the New Zealand Senior School Nationals, like things like that. So I guess it's just sort of, it was just one of those things to see how good I could get, you know, in that time frame, really.
Even as like breaking school records and stuff like that, obviously you've gone to university and got a degree. Did you ever imagine, like, were you thinking, well, it's got to stop soon and then I'll go get a real job? Like, it was really interesting, I guess, because I never really, it was quite late in the piece that I thought I could make something out of this, and I could, you know, like I'd sort of grown up so sporty and wanting to pursue sport in some space, so it was kind of like, what does that look like? What sport's that going to be? But, you know, the Olympics is obviously a huge draw card as well, and pretty cool.
And I sort of thought, like, this whole javelin thing, like, I was, in the most big-headed way, I felt like I was pretty good with very little effort. So whereas other sports, you know, I felt I had to work a lot harder at to be as good, you know. So I sort of thought, well, shit, I mean, like, if I actually committed all my time and energy to this and actually trained like a javelin thrower, you know, how good could I get? And, you know, could I make it to the games and things like that? So, like it wasn't actually until I was about 19, it was like second year uni that I actually stopped doing other sports.
Right, okay,
and just focused solely on javelin throwing. So I'd actually made a bet with my coach at the time in Dunedin, Raylene. I was playing netball, prem netball there, and it'd sort of been a few too many rolled ankles and, you know, a few too many days out from training and throwing javelins. So I said to her, rightio, well, if I throw this, you know, all-time New Zealand record, then I'll quit everything else and I'll do javelin. And I kind of wasn't expecting for it to all happen so quickly. It was like literally 2 weeks later I broke the record, and I was like, oh, shit. I guess that means I'm quitting netball now. I kind of hadn't processed it as much as how quickly it all happened. So it was quite a hard case. But I guess in terms of that as well, like I was quite late to the party. As in athletics, you know, usually you're doing it right from day dot, and it's sort of something you're doing for a very long time. But I was sort of just like in and out, and then I feel like that was sort of the point where I was like, right, I'm all in. Yeah.
With javelin, obviously you got a PE degree, you've been doing javelin for a while now. Is it one of those sports, because there are definitely sports out there that, like, you can be good at it, but sometimes you need, like, the physical attributes and the sort of genetics to be good at it? Is javelin one of those, you reckon? Yeah,
100%. I know what you mean. I think javelin's a really interesting one because you kind of need to be a bit of an all-rounder. You know, you need good strength, you need a bit of strength at range, powerful, you know, be mobile. There's a quite a element of rhythm in the runway work that we do and that sort of thing. So I think it's obviously as well, biomechanically it's favourable to have long levers. But in saying that, if you look at all the people on the circuit at the moment, male and female, everyone is a different shape and size, yet just as capable as the other, you know. So it's really who can utilize their strength the best, and not strength as in physical strength, like their own like personal strength that they acquire, so I know of some women on the circuit that have got these incredible levers, and should be able to pull the javelin and throw it a very long way, but they can't quite access like the coordination or the rhythm, or or might not have the physical strength, or those sorts of things. So it's about working to what your gifts are really, and going from there. So I never really thought, I've got like the perfect body type, I've got these genetics for athletics for throwing a javelin. It was sort of like I was a bit of an all-rounder at everything with my sport at school, and I just thought, what, I could give this a pretty good nudge. I feel like I can cover all bases and improve across them all reasonably well, like above average, and then it's sort of just like taken off from there.
When you hit that first national record, because I did have a look at it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's just off Wikipedia, so I don't know how accurate it is, but it was 55 meters. Yeah. And then you smashed it.
I've smashed it since, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, how, I mean, again, like we said this before, I don't know too much about javelin, but how different is it from like that record there, 99, to like now? Like, how different has the sport sort of changed?
Yeah, hugely. And I just even think I would hate to look at a video and see what that throw actually looked like technically, like to throw 55 meters, like I can throw that now for short run up. So, like comparatively, you're like, it was the record then, but it was a very, like actually distance wise.
But it also took from 99 to 2014.
Yes,
to break.
Totally.
Long time,
Totally, but I think what a big piece of it is that whole exposure of sports. You think, how often would you see someone on TV throwing a javelin versus how often do we see a rugby player or a netball player, or like those sorts of sports? And I think that's probably a huge part of it. There's going to be these huge ebbs and flows in these little niche pockets of sports. It's particularly athletics, certain events where you'll have this one athlete come along and then nothing for a very long time, and it's quite funny because I think about my coach, Kirsten Hellier. She was essentially, she had all the records before I broke them. It's a long time between drinks, right, for that to happen. And but like I say, I think it's a little bit about, it's got to do with that exposure of a sport, and it probably as well, the knowledge that you can be fortunate enough to receive at that young age where you are making those decisions. Like I think about my experience with Murray back in Gore. Had he not come along and taken me under his wing and shared his knowledge of how to actually get better, I would have been javelin. I would have been, it's just like, well, how was I going to get any better? And back then it wasn't really massive to like have these like social media platforms where you can learn things so readily and have all this like information at your fingertips, So it wasn't as easy, and I think now that we do have that, obviously there is so much more opportunity for growth in sports and and things like that. So I definitely think that a big part of it is that exposure that you receive, and a bit of that insight coaching from those influential early years.
100%. You might have already gone over it already, I can't remember, but what was the reason you came up to the North Island?
2017 I was in the midst of trying to qualify for the 2018 Commonwealth Games, and missed qualification for that for the Commonwealth Games, and I thought, screw it, like I'm going to pack my bags and I'm going to go up to Hamilton where the lead javelin throw coach for New Zealand is, and her name is Debbie Strange, and I thought, I'm going to reach out to her. I really want to go to the Olympics, in Tokyo, and I need to make some moves. I need to, give this a really good crack. And at the time, she was coaching our top male athlete, Stuart Farquhar, and he was Commonwealth Games medalist in Delhi, and obviously phenomenal thrower as well, world-class athlete. And I thought, right, that's where I need to be. So literally packed 2 bags, booked a flight, told my parents to sell my car and left Dunedin. So it was quite a hard case, but I was willing to sort of go all in, like it was a real passion of mine, and I really just wanted to make sure I left no stone unturned, really. And So yeah, moved up to the Tron, settled in.
What a place!
What a place! What a place! I mean, I tell you what, I copped a bit of flack for saying.
Whereabouts were you throwing? Like, where would you be throwing?
Here.
Yeah.
So at Porritt Stadium.
Okay, I thought it was at. It's a football field now.
It has a football field in the middle.
Can you still throw?
Yeah, absolutely. There? Yeah. It's still a track.
We played there on Saturday. I coach a football team.
Oh yeah.
And we played there, and yeah, I was like, it's like immaculate. I was like,
it's beautiful.
Can't throw javelins on here anymore.
Yeah, you can. You sure?
Okay.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay, we found out who's doing it, team.
It's me. It's
Tori,
yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's all good. So yeah, so we, Debbie took me under her wing, and it was just a really good time for me, I think, as well, to sort of get out of Dunedin, change an environment, all that sort of thing, change in support team. I was going to have some training partners up here that were able-bodied, and I had a great crew down in Dunedin with Raylene and a lot of para-athletes and that, but I felt a little bit like down there you sort of, you're sort of tucked away from everyone, and I felt like I just needed to come somewhere where I was going to be exposed a little bit more, challenged a little bit more, and it was really cool. Like, I was training with mainly boys, and that was great for me. I've grown up with my siblings, and we've been pretty competitive, and my younger brothers always kept me pretty honest, and I don't know, I sort of just thrive in that environment where people are better than me, because I try to, you try to keep up, and I'm pretty competitive in that space, so I think it was really good. But the thing with javelin throwing is that it's so technical, right? There's so many pieces to the technique, and sometimes you can be told so many times the same thing, but it just doesn't sink in, you just don't click with it. But you could watch it and watch someone else do it, and straight away, it resonates. And so it was really powerful for me to have other people to watch. And even though they were boys, and they were, taller, longer levers, stronger, all these things, at the end of the day, the biomechanics of throwing the javelin are the same. So you can kind of figure it out. And so, it was a really awesome opportunity for me to sort of learn through watching them. And, it's like, okay, learning through, okay, I should do that, or actually I shouldn't be doing that, so you kind of, like I said, you kind of figure it out and what would work for you. So that was an awesome, pretty much, what did I have with Debbie? I think it was, Debbie and I parted ways in 2023. So I had spent a long time with Debbie, and again, achieved a few more national records and things, and I feel like Debbie really helped me grow as an athlete and understand a little bit more about throwing the javelin, and especially looking after your body, like things like that as well. So and so now am, as I said before, coached by Kirsten Hellier, so who had the previous record. So it's pretty cool, the sort of full circle that it's sort of eventuated to being, which is awesome. But it's been, to be honest, I feel like I'm really blessed to have had the coaches that I've had, because I feel like each person has been at sort of the perfect time for me in terms of my progression in the event. And it's been a pretty cool. It's a pretty cool journey to reflect on, how those people have helped you at those certain times in my career. For sure, man. Just touching on something you said there, the like looking after your body and that. So I look at athletics as like one of those, like anything you do in athletics, it's a very linear event. The event itself never changes, right? 100 meter sprint, that's what you're doing. You're running 100 meters. So I always get pretty fascinated on the athlete itself. So your event to me screams out, it's quarter extremity is like probably a massive part of it, right? And you just look at how much torque you're putting through your body. It's pretty fucking aggressive. I guess what I'm trying to say, how the fuck do you stop breaking down every second week? And that's the thing. I think firstly, you've got to have a really good understanding of what your body can tolerate. Exactly what you say. We're putting a lot of force through our body in a lot of directions. We're essentially running in.
You're not in a natural position to start with.
Exactly. So we're running in.
Did you like that too?
That was pretty good.
Was it?
That was pretty good.
We'll talk later.
So, so you're running in pretty straight, and then it's a transition to being essentially side on. And then you're coming in, and you're coming in pretty hot to slam on the brakes. The sort of analogy we use is almost like a mini car crash. You come in, slam on the brakes, and you literally just catapult yourself up into this javelin throw. And the rotational force, all of that, it all sort of adds up, and if you don't connect that, in the right timing and sequence, you've got your spread of power quite wide, and the main thing is you want all your spread of power to be in that straight line, right? So that means all your forces are going in one direction. As soon as your forces are crossing over or spread, that's when you just feel it everywhere in your body.
Right.
And I tell you what, you feel it. Like, you feel it in the throw, and you walk off and you're kind of like, okay. And then you'll feel it the next day. But a big part of it is programming, right? So, I've got an awesome support team through my coach, my S&C physio particularly, who help with what that looks like. And then now as well, at the level that I'm at, it's kind of like experience and going on what I know my body can handle. We have, a pretty standard week plan that doesn't have, I guess it's not really rigid. There's a bit of flexibility based on the intensity of some of the sessions, particularly the throwing ones. Because sometimes if we have a high intensity throw session, it's obviously then the next day you might be a bit compromised, but ultimately it's about figuring out that balance of load. So for me, we have 3 Javelin specific throw sessions a week. Now I wouldn't throw all 3 of those.
Right, okay.
Probably 5 years ago, yep. Like, but as I've gotten older with more of a solid foundation that I have of throwing, I don't need to throw as much, but also with the awareness of my body, the previous injuries I've had, and the constant demand on the body with, I'm going to say aging, but it's not aging, everybody. I'm coming into my prime.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like anything, right? You got to look after your body a little bit more as you get older. So 3 throw sessions a week at the moment. 2 of those are actually throwing javelins and overweight balls, and then the other one is purely drill based, a lot of javelin crossover running, rhythmical stuff, and it's kind of like a session of what was sort of missing this week that we feel like we just need to tap a little bit more. And so it will be that with a combination of 3 gym, and the 3 gym is often programmed in a phase of either a slow eccentric, fast eccentric, and a ballistic, or it might be, depending on where I am in the season, is really going to depend on what that looks like.
Right,
but that's sort of how the general week sort of runs, with Sunday being a rest day. But like I said, the big thing is that there's flexibility. Nothing's rigid. You show up to the track if you're a bit sore. Okay, we're not going to push the boat out too much today with the throwing. Maybe we'll bring it back to be more drill based, because honestly, I've just had so many injuries throughout my career where I've just pushed and pushed and pushed, and it's so not been worth it. You know, especially from a young age, it was a real tough lesson to learn, and took me a long time to learn it.
Yeah.
I had a couple of stress fractures in my back, which were absolutely awful, and it was a combination of just going too hard, too much throwing with arguably not the greatest technique, and then being under a lot of load in the gym, and you just do that and it just compiles up, and and then all of a sudden something's got to give, and so it took me a little while to learn the lessons, but at the end of the day you learn lots from it, right? There's always an opportunity to then go and work on something else, which is been the greatest thing in hindsight, but there's probably, I would say, you'd be hard-pressed to find a javelin thrower that doesn't have a niggle or hasn't had a major injury.
Yeah, I think that just comes with elite performance
totally
in general, eh?
Totally. Yeah, we're always operating on a very fine line, right? And it's and that's what it is. And especially elite performance, high performance sport, you're searching for the 1%ers, so you are, and that's why you are always operating on that fine line. Yeah,
I mean, the low-hanging fruit, that's what you do at the start. It's when you get to this, like you say, the 1%ers, that's so hard to find. And it's good. Before we get into your career too much, I just wanted to touch on the sport itself. How does an event day look? Is it one day? Is it over a few days? How does an event look? And how many throws do you get? And just dive into that.
Yeah, okay. So generally speaking, low level meet, we'll go standard. Low level meet where I'm just representing myself would be cool, rock up, the competition might be afternoon or evening. We'll say there's 12 girls in it. 12 girls in the women's javelin. So generally speaking, there's always a cool time. So what that means is that before the event, everyone has to gather in a tent a certain amount of minutes before the actual event starts, and you have to get checked off, make sure you're there. So usually that's 45 or 50 minutes for javelin throwing. So what would happen is, say the competition's at, I don't know, 3 o'clock, you've got your cool tent, say it's an hour, so it means you've got to be at the cool tent at 2 o'clock. And then so generally I'd get to the warm-up track for, I'll just sort of allow maybe an hour, 15 minutes sort of thing to warm up. So, it's pretty leisurely. You want to factor in a bit of extra time for if anything goes chaotically wrong, or, you get held up in the, I don't know, the bus getting to the track or something like that. So you would sort of go through that little bit of a process at the start. So in the call room, they check your bib, they check your spikes, all that sort of thing, and they'll file you out to the competition. General rules are that you only get 2 warm-up throws when you're out there. Yeah. So you get out there, usually you chuck your boots on and you'd go and measure up your runway, your run-up. Yep. And now people always think this is quite actually entertaining, because you'd think in sports where things are measured by like small margins, we're talking, everything's got a measurement or a time. A lot of us actually just measure our javelin run-up with our javelin. So we'll just go like, end over end with the javelin, and it's kind of like give or take a little bit, which people think is quite funny, because they're like, that's so inaccurate. That's
not really precise.
Yeah. And we're like, but it's javelin, like you might let it go a metre from the line, and that's all right. Like, so, but whereas, obviously long jump, you need it to the centimetre because you want to be on the board. Yep. So we're a little bit cruisy and easy-osy in the jab. So that's sort of how we measure our run-ups. And usually they would call you through in the competition order to do your warm-up throws. So you get 2 warm-up throws on the runway, and then usually that's it. And then we're sort of into the comp. So if you've got 12 girls in the comp, what ends up happening is the first 3 rounds, like everyone gets to throw. So everyone's guaranteed 3 throws. Right. After that, there's a bit of a pause, and all the officials will get together. They'll look at who the top 8 girls are, and then those top 8 girls will get the final 3 throws. So if you're not in that top 8, you essentially take off your boots, you sit there and you watch for the next, 3 rounds. Yeah, okay. And the rest of us will battle it out to see who takes it home. So, but however, if you, say you go to a competition, this is more accurate for a New Zealand sort of competition where you would only have 8 girls, well then all 8 are just going to get the 6th rounds. Yeah, right, yeah. Okay. So, but say we change that and that actually becomes, for example, a World Championships. Okay, so if I think about World Championships, there have been 36 that get to go. Right, so what ends up happening there is you get split into 2 qualifying pools. So qualifying A and qualifying B, and they're usually one straight after the other. And what ends up happening is that you go out, you get 3 throws, and that is it. 3 throws, show us what you got. Yeah. The best goes through. So the top 12 girls will go through to the final. So that's not the top 12 from Pool A and from Pool B. It's
combined.
Combined.
Yeah.
So, you could be sitting 5th in Pool A, and to be honest, it's a bit of a risky spot to be sitting. You just don't know what those girls in that other qualifying pool are going to throw. Yeah. So generally, they have the qualifying, say it's on the 20th, then you would then have the final on the 22nd. So they usually give you a day's grace in between. This year's a little bit different. They've come out and said that they're going to do the qualifying, the final, literally back to back.
What, on the same day?
So the very next day. Oh, okay. Which is very unusual and going to be actually very interesting as well, given that as a javelin thrower, you would never ever train throwing javelins 2 days in a row. Yeah, okay. Just with the sheer demand on your body, you're going to pull up pretty average.
Do you take some off your first day of throwing? Or?
Well, this is the thing. Because you're in a qualifying situation, right? You're actually only throwing 3 throws. Yeah. So whereas in a training session, you're going to be throwing 30 plus throws. Okay, so that's why you wouldn't go and back it up with another 30 plus throws the next day. But I think it's still going to be tough. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, qualifying is so hard. It's really difficult. You go out there, you're giving your all for 3 because you've got to make it to the final. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out this year. But it's the first time they've sort of done it. So, like I said, it will be super interesting. But that's sort of the general play of how things go for a competition day. Yeah.
With that sort of like new format, the back-to-back, how do you even go and would you even go and test that? Would you be like, this week we're going to do like a testing week?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we would do simulations, for sure.
Right.
So
Okay,
there would be, usually leading into major championships, the games, world champs, where we have that qualifying and final situation. That's quite a rarity. You don't often go to a competition and have to do a qualifying to then throw in a final 2 days later. It's just one comp on one day or one night you throw and then you go home kind of thing. So often we'll simulate that in a training sort of situation, a training week. We'll come in, warm up as usual. Cool, you've got 3 throws. Sometimes it's good, I'll have a few others that will come and just join in, or just sort of like try to kill that time to pretend that this is when the others would be throwing.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, like the timing of it, so you get 1 minute to do your throw from when your name is called.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If you're in that qualifying and you've got, 18 girls there, you're called up, cool, you take your minute to throw, and then after that, you're waiting minimum 17 minutes, for your next throw. That's a long time to wait in between throws. Like, you can imagine how much your body would cool down, or if it's really hot, how long you're standing out in the sun, exerting energy, like all these sorts of things. There's so much that goes into it. So a lot of it for me in the past has been navigating that long period of time, because here in New Zealand and, even in Australia, we're not having competitions where there's 18 girls in the competition.
Like 8 of you. So
every
10 minutes.
That's what I mean. Like, we are hot. It's like rapid fire, throw. So it's actually like, if anything, that's something that I have over the last few years worked really hard on, sort of separating that time out and having a bit of a process. Worked on a few things with my psych around how can we get that nice balance of doing a little bit of something but not too much. We were exerting too much energy, not overthinking things, because the other thing is, say you have your first round throw and it's a foul. It's like, shit, I've got nothing on the board. I've only got 2 throws left. Yeah. Now you're in your head for the next 20 minutes.
That's a
plus.
long time
It's
to be in your own head.
It is, right?
Yeah,
there's so much to factor into that. So it is. So that's what I mean. Like, qualifying is equally, I would say, if not more, mentally harder than physically. So it's super interesting space.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. So on your career, like you said, you were trying to go to Commonwealth Games, you fell short. How close were you to qualifying for that?
Oh, like a metre off New Zealand standard. So so it was pretty tough. Like, I felt like I was close, but often when you're chasing things, there's a lot more pressure, angst, tension, all that sort of thing. And I think every missed opportunity for me has been really difficult at the time, because of how much I've set my sights on that goal and how much I've believed that I could do it. But upon reflection now, and a few years down the track from each of those setbacks, you can sort of see that there was so much growth that came out of it, lots of learnings, and I probably wasn't at that place where I should have been, So at the time it's always tough, I think, with any sort of failure, whether it's sport or what. Just because you've poured so much into it, right, and you just set your standards so high as well, and but like I said, it's sort of been a really good opportunity for growth and for us to really have a hard reflection. Like, for me, that was like, missing that Commonwealth Games was like, right, that's it, I'm out of here. I need to change. I just need to change. And changes. I think change is always good, and challenge. It comes with real challenge, and I think it was good to sort of remove myself from an environment that I'd been in for a long time, where I probably got a bit complacent as well with my training. And like I said, I learned a lot from the boys, like seeing something else and not being, I guess, the best thrower in the group, which was so powerful for me to get better and to improve. So along with, different language, I think in the sport, it's really interesting because, like I say, the biomechanics are the same, right, of how to throw a javelin far, but the way that people can cue the throw and explain and that sort of thing is all very different, yet they're trying to say the same thing. So, my coach could say one thing, you could say it a completely different way, and your way will resonate, so it's just how that message is gotten across. So, it's there's always a lot that goes into, I guess, trying to understand the javelin, but often I think it's the most simplest things that click.
Yeah.
When I think back about it. So.
Oh, you see that heaps, like in all sports, is the coaching side of things. Like you could honestly bash your head against the wall trying to get an athlete to do something, and then someone will come through and say the same thing differently, and it's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But it's good that they got it, but frustrating, like fuck.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting how like the human brain works.
Yes.
Like how one thing said slightly differently can,
Yeah.
But so you missed out on the Commonwealth Games,
Yeah.
and then you got the Olympics in 2020, well, 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what I was trying to go there, there's so much in between these massive ones that like the general public know about, the Olympics, Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
Like what does a season look like for you, and how do you prioritize just because you could like win a tournament and you're like, cool, that's not the one I really even care about.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So it's not a pinnacle event, is what we call it. So
okay.
Yeah, so essentially you have these pinnacle events that happen every year, and it's sort of what you base your training and competition year around. So for us, I'll use leading into Paris as an example. So
it's a good example.
Yeah, so the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo, so missed that. But then 2022 was Commonwealth Games and World Champs for us in the same year. Okay. So they're our two pinnacle events.
Yep.
So then we base literally our training periodization and our other competitions, we base all of that off of being able to optimally perform our best at those pinnacle events, because that's sort of like what guarantees our funding, like, all those sorts of things, right? But these other competitions in between that are in preparation essentially for those two pinnacle events, they can be New Zealand domestic season, Australian domestic season, it can be the European summer season. And so there's a lot of options of what you can tap into there. It's just whether or not you can afford to do it, and whether or not it sort of like fits your timeline, maybe your life, you might be studying or have a job that you can't get away from to be able to travel, all those sorts of things. So essentially, we sort of like break it down into something each year. So if 2022 was those two pinnacle events, then 2023 also had a World Championships. So then again, we base the year off being able to optimally perform then. And then 2024 was Paris, right? So everything should really work backwards from 2024. So from Paris, it's like, cool. So what are we going to do each year to help be the stepping stones towards that?
Yeah.
And so this is where all these other competitions fit in. So World Athletics have a series of meets, and it's called like the Continental Tour. So you can have the Continental Tour gold meet, and then it drops down to silver, bronze, and then challenger.
Okay, yeah.
But what sits above that, which is the highest form of representation, like of individual representation, so where you're not wearing the fern, but it's a really big deal, are the Diamond League series competitions. So they sit at the top. So you've got like diamond, gold, silver, bronze, challenger. And so those competitions are all of the ones based like around the world, pretty much kick off for a European summer kind of timeline. We do have one gold meet in Australia, which is sort of tail end of the Australian season. But then the rest of them sort of just go straight into the European summer season. So those are where it's self-representation. So, I'm in my Adidas professional kit, people are in their Nike kit, whatever, that sort of thing. It's really off your own back. You have an athletics manager who gets you into the competitions that you sort of like have targeted. Now, in saying that, you don't always get into the ones that you want to get into, especially the Diamond League and gold meets. Right. It's kind of based off your world rankings and where you sort of sit in that, along with a little bit of, how good's your manager, at getting you into these sort of things and that sort of thing. So there's a little bit more that goes on sort of probably behind the scenes there. But generally, if you're in the top, 10 on the world rankings going into the season, you're pretty much going to get into the Diamond League and gold level events. So they're your two probably top kingpin ones because great prize money, right? Great prize money, looked after, great meets, awesome atmospheres, like it's so good. And then sort of it sort of tears down from there. So as it drops down, obviously less prize money for first and that sort of thing. But it's so cool. You're always so well looked after at the competitions in Europe. They do it really well. They put you up in accommodation, make sure that you're all sorted with your transport and that sort of thing. And And like I said, the competitions run really well, and it's just a really cool environment. You know, you go to these countries all across Europe where they just live and breathe athletics. It's so cool.
Yeah,
so it's like,
cool. Yeah.
you know, New Zealanders love rugby. And
Do
so,
they?
you know, we fill the stands for a rugby game. You know, it's a given.
Yeah.
But imagine that for athletics over there. It is so cool. And I think
yeah.
probably the first time I really like experienced that and was just sort of, I guess, taken back of, wow, okay, like I've kind of made it, I think, like was 2023 when I had a phenomenal year in 2023, and I was on the Diamond League circuit, and I walked out of my hotel in Brussels, and I had people coming up to me with photos of me and
so cool.
saying my name and asking for my signature, and, you know, congratulating me on my previous results, and asking me what was next, and, you know, rambling off these sort of like facts that I was like, wow, these people actually like genuinely know who I am, you know, and it was really quite overwhelming. I was sort of just, I guess, not expecting it as well. I think coming from a country where, you know, athletics isn't huge here, and then you throw in the fact that you do javelin, you know, that's even less of a known sport. So it was just really, really cool, and it was sort of, it sort of made me realise, like, oh, wow, these guys love this here. Like, this is their thing. So, like I said, phenomenal year for me, 2023, and finished second in the Diamond League final, which was pretty cool. So, had a great run of results in 2023, and that really put me on track, you know, to be going to Paris, which was really cool. But like I said, like all these competitions, you sort of plan them out and stage them out so that, you're, you know, gaining momentum and building towards this pinnacle event, essentially. So I think that's probably the beauty of our sport, is that usually every year there is a pinnacle event, so that you've always got something to aim for and always something to keep you on your toes and be motivated for. No,
that's cool. So with the Olympics itself, how far out from the Olympics do you know you're going? Is it different for every athlete?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit different based on the qualifying and how you qualify.
Right.
So you can qualify by throwing an outright standard. So there's always an outright standard of, cool, if you just hit this, signed, sealed, delivered, you're in. Whereas there's also an alternate standard way of qualifying, which is that you fall within the top 32 of your event. So to do that, you have to compete at competitions, throw consistently well, and it's kind of like you're collecting points. So there's a lot that goes into it. I probably won't bore you with it because we could be here forever. And to be honest, people who do athletics still struggle to understand it. So, long story short, you collect points, you fall in the top 32, and you meet the criteria from the NZOC, which is the big like point to make there, is that, which, you know, is somewhat controversial for some sports. So
is that the New Zealand Olympic Committee? Is that
yes, having the top 16. So they have a philosophy that, you might be in the top 32, but you have to have demonstrated to us that you're capable of being in the top 16 come performance day. And they determine that based on your previous results leading into the
Is that for
games.
all sports, or?
Yes,
Olympic
it is.
sports, obviously.
For all Olympic sports, yes.
Right.
So, you know, if you meet those two if you meet that top 16 and you're in the top 32 for the World Athletics, then happy days. And you're in good standings with Athletics New Zealand, NZOC, all the rest of it. That's your alternate like option to qualify. So, given that you're doing it that way, you probably wouldn't know then till the cut-off date of the games. Sometimes, obviously, if you figure it out, you know, you can sort of, I guess you would know a good few months out. But some athletes have been really close and you know, only found out maybe 1 or 2 months before they're going. But in saying that, you know, you're going to prep. You know, if there's a chance that you're going to the Olympics, you're going to prep.
Probably going to practice a little bit.
Probably not just going to be like on the couch.
Shit, I made it, I better go.
You know, Netflix binging and all that sort of thing. So yeah, absolutely, you're going to know.
And let's talk about that Paris experience. I mean, I definitely watched.
Yeah.
I fucking love the Olympics.
Yeah, it's awesome, eh? I feel like it just rules everybody's TV.
Do you know what I think about the Olympics is like, and this is no slight on any professional athlete because you're all doing a lot better than me, but like, that's an athlete, man. Like, that's what you like. You think of an athlete, like I see some league players, and I'm like, man, you just punch beers and are really good at running at fucking people, all right?
You just punch beers,
So like, cool, good on you. You're a pro athlete. But when you look at like an Olympian, you're like, fuck, like that's that's an athlete. I don't know how to explain it, but anyway,
yeah,
that's
I think,
my
yeah, I think I know what you
mentality,
mean. There's
right?
just sort of like this stigma around it, right? You know,
Yeah.
like, yeah. But no, it was pretty epic, eh? Shit, it was absolutely the most amazing experience and just exceeded all expectation, you know, that I had of what it would be like. And you sort of go and you think, oh yeah, like it'll be loud, it'll be this, it'll be that. But then when you're there, I think it's what heightens that is just that emotional connection that you have to finally being there.
Yeah.
And like, it was interesting because people were like, oh, were you nervous? And I was like, no, actually, like I walked into that stadium and I was just so overwhelmed with the noise. I was just like, whoa, but I was like, this is epic. You know, it was just like, this is a stadium. Like, this is amazing. Like, it was so full, so loud, lights, like all the flags around the top. And I think it was, for me, it was more of just like, wow, I've made it. Like, it was a real realization of like, I'm here. Like, this is it, you know? And so, it was just, like I said, it was awesome. But I think as well, the other thing that sort of heightens it all is just the full experience of, you know, you get there, you're chauffeured in these buses, there's so much security, you're in the athlete village, you know, like all these things that just heighten this, I'm an Olympian, you know, I'm at the Olympics. Like it's
cool.
pretty outrageous. And, you know, you flash your little accreditation, it's literally just like wave a magic wand, you can go there, you can do that. It's pretty crazy, eh? You feel like a pretty, like...
It's so deserved, though.
Oh, it is, it's so cool. And I mean, like, they're probably the things that you think about the least, you know, like you're so fixated on your performance and stuff, and you know, you get all these cool like other bits and pieces, and and I don't know, it was a pretty amazing experience, and you can see why it probably only happens every 4 years, you know. It's such an extravagant thing. But yeah, just loved it. And just even so, like being around the other athletes in there, you know, I'm a sports fiend. Like, I love sport. Like, I love watching all sorts of sports. So for me, I was just sort of walking around the village being like, far out, I wonder what she does. Holy shit. Like, what does he do? You know, like, and it was quite fun to sort of like admire other people's like athletic like presence, or you know, and just that sort of thing as well. And you'd keep up, you know, every now and again with what was going on. You know, New Zealand HQ, we had a bit of a room there where we could, you know, watch some of the other sports and other athletes that are on. And so you'd see sort of like a result, and then you'd see that team come back into the village, and you're like, oh shit, they won, and like you know, so it was so cool. Like I was almost like some days just like fangirling, be like, shit, that's so and so. You know, like you can't help it, right? You can't help
100%,
it. So
man.
So yeah, but I feel like that's a little bit of a trap as well. Like, you go into the village and you can just easily exhaust yourself with, you know, the stimulus of everything, right? So I was pretty dead set on having my usual routine, daily routines and that sort of thing, and not getting too overwhelmed with all that sort of stuff. Like, here and there, absolutely, but you very quickly lose the day. You know, by the time you've walked down to the dining hall, you've gone and caught up with your mate doing this and that, and you've trained, and then, you know, all these sorts of things. The day's just gone, and you're kind of shattered, and you know, so it's you've still got to work really hard at trying to maintain those usual routines and things, because at the end of the day you're still there to perform, right?
So got a job to do.
So you know, leave all the like the party antics till after the job's done.
But I had Jazz on the other week, so it's pretty cool to have another Olympian on. Before we go away from that, what was that opening ceremony like? Because it was crazy to watch.
Well, this is the thing. I wasn't there. So because athletics is on in the second week of the games, we stay in a holding camp. So we were actually in Montpellier watching it on a TV, which was a bit of a shame. And it tends to always be the case because athletics is on in the second week and they don't send you into the village that early. You often miss the opening ceremonies of things. So that was a bit of a shame because it looked like good fun, and they always look like they are good fun.
That one looked crazy.
So
there was moments I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm watching.
I know, right? And do you know the funniest thing is that like we get given all our kit, and in our kit's like opening ceremony outfit, closing ceremony outfit. For the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham and for the Olympic Games in Paris, my opening ceremony outfit stayed firmly pressed in its bags, never even opened, because it was like, well, I was, you know, wasn't even there. So So it was quite funny coming home and being like, I hadn't really looked through all my kit and that. So came home and was like, oh, what's this? And like pulled it out and I was like, oh, that's mean. And then I was like, oh yeah, that was for the opening ceremony. Didn't go. So
I'll never get to wear one of these.
So we're usually running hot on the closing ceremony outfits, which, we went to that and that was all good. And it's just I think it's quite cool to do because it's kind of like helps you close off that experience, right? So, it helps close off that experience, but I still think, it takes a long time after the games to really come to terms with what you've just done.
Yeah.
Like people do speak about the Olympic blues and it's legit a thing. Like I thought, I'll be sweet. Like, but it's just the most bizarre thing. It's like, imagine you've just climbed Everest and then you just jump off.
Yeah.
Like you just jump off the cliff. Like, and that's literally what it is because every single day you've worked for this goal for so long, and every day you're still trying to achieve it, and work towards it. And then after that competition, it's like the very next day, you wake up and you're like, oh, what
now?
What's sort of my purpose for today? Because I'm not trying to achieve this goal. Like I've just done it. Like what now? And so, aside from the fact of, you're going to go and enjoy the village and do this and do that.
Yeah.
Very quickly that wears off, and especially when you leave the village, it's kind of like, cool, like, now what?
Yeah.
So it was a very, very interesting feeling, one that you will pass, but everybody, experiences it for longer than others. But, just like, a really interesting experience for sure.
Yeah. It was quite emotional after the event as well because you had that interview with Andrew Mulligan. It was obviously quite an emotional one. So it's like it's
right
from
there.
the last throw. It's
Literally,
almost
literally right there. And I wasn't really anticipating that, to be fair, either. And
did they warn you that?
Nah. And you sort of walk through this like media maze.
Yeah.
And he was sort of standing there like, ready to go. And I was sort of like, yeah. And then I guess, when they ask the hard hitting questions, and you sort of, reality sort of sets in of what you've just done and whether or not it's met your expectation, you can't help but be overwhelmed with emotion. Like for me, I've watched that video a couple of times and it still makes me quite emotional watching it because I knew how much it meant to be there, like and be competing. But also I just couldn't get past the fact that I just wasn't able to express what I know I was capable of, and that is probably the hardest pill to swallow. Like, for me, it's over 10 years of my life to try and qualify for the Olympics and get there.
Yeah.
You finally get there, you have your shot, and you didn't bring your A game. Like shit. And if anything, we're our own harshest critic, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And people be like, oh, look, like just getting there was amazing. I'm like, no, like,
that's
like, it is, but man, shit, I don't go there to participate and make up numbers. Like that's not at all what I do in anything, across even my work, like it's like I'm going to do something, I want to do it really well and I want to be the best. And I couldn't help but feel like I had failed, and that was super hard, like really hard. And I think, again, it's kind of like that same feeling, when missing out on Tokyo, it's like, shit, well, it's just fueled me again to go to LA, It was like, because I just know that I'm better than that and I've got a lot to give, and I think now with a bit more experience under my belt of these major championships and what that sort of experience is, I feel like I can navigate that better, use my experiences, be a bit smarter about my preparation and have a better shot at it,
Oh, for sure. I mean, you've already shown this year. Just like, was it Zagreb?
Zagreb.
You just won there. What'd you throw for that one?
Yeah, so just short of 62 there. Flew into Zagreb off the plane. A couple of days later, competed. And won the comp. And that was awesome. And like I still feel like as well we've made some changes to my technique that are still starting. Still being pieced together, I guess. And I'm feeling like things are clicking a little bit more, which is exciting. And I'm really excited for what this year has to hold, because I know that the last couple of years I haven't quite aligned a couple of pieces of my technique together. It's sort of like I've had one thing and not the other. Whereas some of these throws that I've had recently, I've been like, oh, that's like a little bit of the two of them coming together,
That's cool.
And so just sort of like building on that, building on my confidence, and obviously the main thing is looking after the body. Like really, like I've ended up going into my last two major pinnacle events injured, and it's been really difficult. It crushes your confidence. So, and at the end of the day, you need to go out there and absolutely believe that your body's going to hold up.
Yeah.
And when you're going in with a niggle in an event like mine,
yeah, it's already in the back of your mind.
It's not. Exactly. It's like anything, right? Yeah, it's just that little wee devil on your shoulder. That's So
yeah, it's just enough.
It is, and it is just enough. So, I think learning from those experiences as well. That's why I've sort of taken a bit of a different approach this year to preparing for the World Champs in Japan. Also, like their location being in Japan, super close to New Zealand.
Everyone's going there at the moment as well.
Oh,
it's a hot spot.
Oh, the flights are on sale, people.
There you go.
Get your flights to Japan.
Go watch Tori.
Come over September. Exactly. But yeah, I just decided to change my prep a little bit around that, based on the fact that the last couple of years I've had to be overseas competing for a couple of months leading into the games, right, or leading into a major championships. But often that time that we're over there, I don't have very good physio support. I'm on my own. Just all those little daily things, your daily routines, your usual appointments, all those sorts of things, for physio, massage, psych, all that. You don't have that when you're over there. Often I'm on my own, or I'm just with my coach, and we're sort of just comp hopping, or we're set up base somewhere else, and you don't have access to your usual things. And I've actually ended up getting significant injuries where I can't throw, not far out from competing, and which has been frustrating. So I thought, bugger it this year, let's not go anywhere. Go over and do what I needed to do in China and in Europe just recently in Zagreb, but come back here and let's just prepare here. All my people around me, my usual routines of work and catching up with my mates, going to the beach. I say doing that in the winter time,
doing cool podcasts.
But doing cool podcasts.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
But it's all those little things, right, that you take for granted, and it's not until you're away, that you're away to do a job, but you're like, man, how am I going to fill the rest of my day? I've trained, you rest and recover. You might go for a little walk and that sort of thing, but it's just all those little things that take your mind and attention away from the enormity of what the event is, or and I think that sort of gets taken a bit for granted at times too. Yeah,
I mean, having that support network is massive, and I couldn't imagine it would be quite lonely. And especially you're married now, and you've got a whole life here.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then it's I'm just going to have to go to the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And not have any of that.
Yeah.
It's that could be quite emotionally.
Yeah, as
draining.
well. Absolutely, and I think as well, it's I always call it doing home away from home. Once you can figure out how you do home away from home, I think you're a little bit more set up. Yeah. And again, you learn that. I've learned that the hard way. My first year, I was just fish out of water. I was like, oh my god, didn't have that down packed at all, and really struggled. So setting up your usual routines. For example, 2023, we were based in Nice, in the south of France. Shit place to base. Yeah.
Oh yeah, terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
In the summer?
Yeah, in the summer. I know, hard work. I know, a real chore.
Sure.
But we were based there, and right from the get-go, it was okay, sort out how we're getting to training, cool, and what that sort of looks like timing-wise. Tried to keep it similar times to what we would do back home. I actually stayed working remotely a little bit as well,
right,
so that I could still keep my mind sort of away from just javelin and competing. So it was really nice to sort of have a bit of a distraction. So I had a bit of that. Usual recovery routines, go and have a swim and all that sort of thing. And because I wasn't able to get physio access, it was just quite difficult. So it was sort of cool, every now and again my coach would do a few things, might have a Zoom call with the physio, and so my coach could do a few things, and little things journaling still every day. I'd wander out, go for a little walk, get some fresh air in the morning, go find a coffee, those sorts of things. It's sort of trying to establish good routines and just your everyday norms, not spending your day, I went up to, Antibes and spent the day here touristing around. And I feel when you don't utilise your time efficiently and effectively in that space, all that is so draining. And don't get me wrong, every now and again on a rest day would go and do something like that. Yeah. But it's apart from that, it's actually pretty boring living. There's it's not this glam,
Well, that's we laugh about it before. Going to Nice is so terrible. It's but you are there to
do a job,
to work.
Yeah, absolutely we are. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of your job, you just mentioned there. So you're at I should speak into the microphone. So I'm just having an issue. This fucking cable is falling. It's fine.
Oh, no.
We're professionals here. You are working at St. Peter's in Cambridge.
Yeah.
So what are you doing there?
Yeah, so I run a sports performance program there for, pretty much all our student athletes who are interested. So it really covers a huge variety of sports. So the main aim of the program is to sort of provide a little bit more support and, I guess, a bit of love for those kids that maybe are, aspiring to be either New Zealand representatives or actually just want to be better. Really, that's it. Like, want to be better, which is cool. But it really targets those kids that are in the minority sports as well. So, when you're at high school, it's the first 15, the senior A, the first 11 hockey. Like, they all get the love and the support and this and that. What about the kid who's New Zealand? Number one New Zealand for barefoot skiing, or like for wakeboarding, or does motocross, or or they play volleyball, or like just all these other, like athletics, for classic example. It's like, well, why shouldn't they be able to also get a bit of love and support? So what that looks like is so they would sign up each term if they want to, or they can opt in for just one term, or whatever they see fit. But we provide them with a strength and conditioning program. So we run them through a bit of baseline testing, some movement pattern stuff, and just sort of see really where we're going to be able to really help them improve. And then also provide some workshop opportunities for them to sort of, I suppose, level up their knowledge in those other areas that probably go a little bit unnoticed and aren't prioritised as much. So, like your nutrition, your recovery, your sleep, your time management, all these things that young kids, they'd put that secondary to their actual training and their actual performance, right? So, whereas, you can't actually train and or perform if you're not fueling enough and you're broken. So really it's teaching them the importance of those and how we can use those to fill the gaps of your performance. So it's pretty cool. I get a lot of satisfaction out of it, and I think it's been really cool to be able to give back to those younger kids and essentially that next generation. And I hope that some of my experiences I can share with them so that they potentially don't make the same mistakes that I did. So it's like I said, it's really rewarding, and I think like it's really cool because it is such a variety of kids that you get, whether it's variety in their sporting aspirations and motivations or variety in the sport that they do. So it keeps it interesting, really interesting. And then I just love it, like I love training and I love sport, like I said. So, I'm super passionate about helping them as well.
It's so cool to hear. And it's cool working in that youth space as well. That's actually how I met your husband.
Oh, yeah.
So I did the S&C for the rowing program at Handboys. So I met him through that, actually. Just their fucking forward pack, always constantly trying to get in the gym. So give us 20 minutes. Just
trying to get massive, Constantly on the bench press, hogging the bench press.
He's running the program now there.
He is.
That's
he
cool.
is now the head coach of the Hamilton Boys First 15, which is pretty cool.
That boring sport.
Exactly. I know, another rugby, But that's actually when I am here in New Zealand in the winter. That's where you actually find me on a Saturday most of the time on the sidelines of a rugby game, whether it's actually for Cam's team or my friend Maddie Finch. She plays for the Melville Prem women's team. So spent a few Saturdays out at Melville. But I actually don't like I said, I played many sports growing up, and footy was one of them. So still super interested in footy myself, and love watching it. Especially when you know someone in it, and playing and stuff. So
I think working in a youth space is pretty important. I work. I don't work. I volunteer at Te Aomori College. I do their football program for the first 11 and second 11 and stuff like that. I think it's really cool to have. Obviously, you've got way more experience in what you've done up to now, to be able to impart that knowledge onto them is massive, because you just got to think about the amount of people that have not pursued, and they might have been so amazing at what they would have done because the support network hasn't been there. and at that age is super important.
Yeah, and I think so. Two things. Big thing for me is like, I had that support, and then, but also the other thing is that, had that support from Murray to be able to pass on some knowledge for me to pursue it, but also, my sister had done it as well, and I kind of could see like, well, she can do it, I can do it. So it's like there's that little bit of an awareness there of like, okay, I could make something out of this, and like, she didn't pursue it to the level that I did, but her journey took her down the netball path, and that's absolutely fine. But it was probably just that little bit, that little taster of that, and I think what's particularly cool is that I've done this, I guess, for one, from a minority sport, very niche javelin throwing, but also from little old Gore. Like, what the hell? People don't even know where that is. When people are like, oh my God, and it's I
cold.
think that's, totally, it's cold,
It's cold,
And there's not a lot happening there.
Just throwing spiky sticks around.
Just throwing spears. But I think the big thing, so the big thing is that like, I hope that what I have done is only the beginning of what someone in the next generation, like whether it be one person, two people, three people, can then do because they've seen me do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge part of it, right? Like, look how many All Blacks we have because they're on TV. People see them do it, and they know the pathway and all that sort of thing. And it's like, cool, well, if I can then be the change for more javelin throwers in New Zealand, then like, how cool's that? Like if even I'm really keen and passionate about giving back to the sport and giving back to the event in particular. So, it would be awesome if in 10 years time, I'm coaching the next potential New Zealand record holder. It would just be it'd be cool. And God forbid we have 8 girls, or 12 girls that are actually there to fill the field at nationals. Like, that would be awesome. So it's just like if I can be that change, then like that is just going to be so cool. So
it just takes that like level of interest for it to really spark and become something. I think it's really cool what you're doing. And I think that would be a good place to leave it. And I wanted to end on a question I've been asking a few guests now, and it's and it would be good for like other people watching and listening, to help them on their journey. What would 3 non-negotiables you have be to live such a high-performing life?
You got to be happy. You got to be happy in what you do, and with the environment that you're in, and the people that are in that space. You got to be happy. I think you need to be challenged. You need to be uncomfortable. So definitely try to challenge yourself, in some part of your day or week or something that that sort of is hard and makes you a bit uncomfortable, because otherwise you just get too complacent. And the other thing would be really lean on your support network. I think sometimes we try to do a lot on our own and we don't realise that actually the people around us, they love us, they're invested in it just as much as us, and actually, it's not a chore to go to them and ask for a bit of help or just be an ear to listen and that sort of thing. And I think that's probably something that's taken me a long time to come to terms with and try to figure out myself, because I've always been quite an independent person. So to ask for help, to show a bit of weakness, that sort of thing has been really hard for me. And I often, haven't wanted to be vulnerable and that sort of thing. But it's, I always think like a problem shared is a problem halved. And so to have that support, it will really help you through.
Yeah, it's crazy how you say like it was a weakness, but like once you start like asking for support, like how much stronger it makes you. It's like,
absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Philosophical stuff.
Take it home, write it down, quote me.
Don't quote me.
Don't quote me.
Anyway, Tori, thank you so much for taking
no
the time any day. I feel like we could have gone for ages more.
Yarned all day.
I got a training to get to, so
no, that's all good.
That's all good. Awesome. But no, honestly, thank you for sitting down.
No, that's all right. Really no worries. Like I said, it's cool when someone doesn't actually know too much, and then so you can like delve into the little pieces and it's I think sometimes they're hard for me to sort of keep it keep it sort of like narrowed, because otherwise it's just there's so much you could say. Could have elaborated, talked so much about how to qualify or the whole Tokyo thing. But that's just like a whole nother can of worms, like, and that's athletics.
There were moments where I was like, we could talk about this one event for ages.
Yeah, this one bit. And even the athlete manager thing, like, also got to be careful what I say there, because this is going to be a podcast. So it's like, so it's kind of like, not say too much there. But in other words, like, some athletes' managers are a bit dodgy, and there's a few deals that happen behind closed doors that get you into meets and this. But that's just the sport. There's always shit that goes on behind closed doors. But so there's heaps. But thanks so much for having me. It was cool.
Awesome. Thanks
really
for
cool.
coming along.
So